There we go. So I'm just gonna tell you about our podcast. I'm just a producer and one of the hosts. My friend Frederick is the other one. He doesn't know English that good, so that's why I'm the only one doing the English interviews.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it all started back in 2014 when Frederick started a study group on a general adult education. You know, it's not a school, but you can go and learn like a language or how to knit, or it's very common in Sweden. It's based from a worker union since the late 1800s or so. So we started in 2014, and we actually celebrate 11 years now this summer for this study group. Yeah, and I began going to do those meetings in 2015, and 2018 we started the podcast. So since then we have, I don't know, this will be episode 217 or so.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a
so
lot.
yeah, it is. Most of our episodes are about 2.5 hours long too. So there is some work to it, but I really like to meet new people, and especially people in the industry. That's very interesting. So
Yeah, you cover all kinds of topics?
mainly horror. So, but
Great.
we try to put some sort of educational part in it too. Like
Right.
our very longest episode is 3.5 hours. And then we talked about the video naughty list, you know, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday 13th, those, and the history behind it. So that was, and we also talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So almost 3.5 hours episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we try to make it both educational and entertaining.
Yeah,
That's
great.
where you come in.
Am I educational or am I entertaining?
Yeah, both of it actually, because I really like your the work with the Alien movie. So now you know a bit about skräckfilmscirkeln, as we're called, or the Circle of Horror in English. Then, yeah. So how about you tell me a bit about yourself, name, where you are, what you do for work?
Yeah. My name is Kelsey Taylor, and I am usually based in Los Angeles, though I travel a lot for work. I'm a director, but I've had many different iterations of my career as I came up through the film industry. First working as a cinematographer and a camera assistant, then an assistant director, producer. I've pretty much done every role. And specifically when we talk about Alien, it was a very, very small crew and ended up wearing a lot of hats on that one.
Okay, so basically you started ground floor all the way up to the CEO's office then.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, do you have any sort of education in the area?
Yeah, I did go to formal film school. I grew up in rural Washington State, very, very small town. And from a young age, I always wanted to make films. I did a lot of reading as a kid, and I always wanted to bring those stories to life. And so it was the ultimate goal to make adaptations. That eventually led me to going to film school in Los Angeles, as one does if you really want to work in the film industry. And I've been there ever since. But I attended Loyola Marymount University and made a lot of friends there who I continue to work with to this day.
Okay. Do you have any certain influences? Since I'll talk from the education and forward. Where do you get your influence?
You know, so many of my early influences, I feel like, were writers, especially young adult fiction. Lord of the Rings is a series that I really, really love and am inspired by. Neil Gaiman, who is having a rough go of it right now, is another person who was a big hero of mine, and it's really sad to see that he's being called out on some less than pleasant behavior. Other people like T.A. Barron, a lot of young adult fiction writers. And then as I came into more of a film aspect, David Fincher is someone that I absolutely love, and we can talk about his involvement in the Alien franchise. But I love how much control he has. And Robert Zemeckis is another incredible filmmaker I admire because he's done a great film in every genre. And I definitely aspire to that. I love the horror genre, but I also would love to make a musical someday. So
Oh, a horror musical maybe.
maybe Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, we actually went to a horror musical this fall, Evil Dead the
Okay.
musical.
Yes.
It the first time ever it was produced in Sweden,
Oh, that's so
in Europe actually.
that is
So
amazing.
yeah, it was really good, and we also saw on YouTube how high schools had set it up. And well, now there was a production company. With, I think there were 3 people who built it up for 18 sets.
Wow.
Yeah. So we are hoping to do not us, but we do some marketing for them. So we hope
Oh,
they will do like Sweeney Todd or Rocky Horror would be cool to have in
yeah,
Sweden as
yeah.
well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So when did you create your very first own movie? Do you remember that?
Yes. I was about age 11 and it was for a class. They told us, you do a book report. And it's like, can I make a movie instead? And it was for a cute little book called Tuck Everlasting, if you've heard of it. They ended up making it into a movie a few years later, and I was very disappointed. Um, but that was the very first one. Just turned that into a film with my friends. Um, and then afterwards, every project in school was, okay, how do we turn this into a movie or a music video or a commercial? And luckily, I had teachers who were very supportive and said, yeah, why not?
Well, that movie had quite a big staff of people.
Yes. Yes, a
Yeah.
huge movie.
Yeah, but your movie was better then.
Definitely. It was more true to the book, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Is it available? Sorry. Is it available for us to see today?
Oh, no. I hope that never sees the light of day. It is no. No, my
Did
parents are
you?
all on that.
Yeah. Did you direct it, or were you an actor?
No, I directed it. But I was 11 years old and my mom wouldn't let me touch the camera. So she did
Oh.
all the operating and I stood over her shoulder being like, no, you're shaking the camera. No, no. Yeah.
So that was the first your first step into directing.
Yes.
Okay. Now, the reason I called you over is because we are very sold on the Alien franchise this year. So we are starting the year with the Alien, and then we have after the summer break we go for Predator. So
Okay.
yeah, I would like to know your backstory to the Alien franchise.
Yeah. So part of the way this project came to be was through 20th Century Fox and through Tongle. They sponsored this contest, and very rarely do you see projects for narrative work that has money. It doesn't happen. Usually, it's people scrounging around making their own short films. So that was the very first thing. Is one, you get to work with this franchise that's incredible, and you get money to actually make it come to life. Amazing. So at the time, my partner and I, Adam, who was also the cinematographer of the short and one of the producers, we jumped at the opportunity. We applied. We applied with 5 concepts, and at the time, I was very 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 busy, and I reached out to all these international people because you were not allowed to apply unless you had an American producer. And so I had reached out to all these international people who were disappointed that they couldn't participate. And I was like, look, I want to do this, but I don't necessarily have time to put all these concepts together. And so we partnered with, I think, 5 different people from all over the world, people from Italy, people from South America. And very, very luckily, we got selected. One of the concepts got selected, which is pretty cool to be able to collaborate and get everyone involved in a franchise that everyone loves.
Yeah, the total franchise. When did you see an Alien movie at first?
I mean, it was in sometime in high school. And I think at that time, you don't have the respect for filmmaking that now I do. And in re-watching the movies and studying them to make this one, you realize how little of the monster you see and how magnificent that is. It is, and we very much took that to heart. We're like, okay, see as little as possible. Your imagination fills in so much. And I think the horror films that I love do that really, really, really well. So again, watching in high school, you're like, oh, this is great. I really enjoy this movie. It's scary, it's terrifying, but you don't have that same nuanced appreciation for the art behind it, and also knowing when you're working on a budget that you have to do that as well, just for the sake of money.
Yeah. Do you remember how old you were when you saw the first Alien movie?
I must have been 16. 16, yeah. It was scary. It was scary.
Of course it is. Yeah, looking at those ugly monsters coming, creeping, and the sounds.
Yeah. And I think the idea of something being inside of you is horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible.
Yeah. How talk about the character Julie, because we have in our podcast we have this idea that the only one to survive a horror movie is a female. No, you know the concept final girls. So
Yes.
I don't know if you heard about the Bechdel test. We heard about
Oh,
it.
yes, of course.
Yeah, we
Yes.
do that on every movie we discuss, and we have like the only one who doesn't make it are the one with only male participants or just one woman.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
So
Ripley is pretty alone in one of the movies as a woman, so it doesn't make the test. But still, she's the power girl of all heroes,
Yeah.
so to speak. Well, about the character Julie, where did the inspiration come from?
I mean, it definitely comes from Sigourney. In making this short film, there's so much pressure to make sure that you don't make a bad name for the franchise. There's so many fans, and I think for me, loving books, adaptations have to be done right. And so many of them are not true to the original story. They don't capture that feeling that made you love them initially. And so it was really important to capture that with the short. So going back, watching them, studying them again, it's like, all right, what is the thing about Alien that makes people love this franchise? And I do think it's like that blue collar working class person who's just trying to do a job and then get caught up in trying to do the right thing, and it takes them on a wild ride. So it's hard to also, we don't want to repeat and just make another Sigourney. So how do you separate that? And so we gave her something that she really cares about. We gave her something that she cares about. We gave her this internal compass, and we made her good at her job.
Do you have any real life influences except Sigourney? I'm thinking a friend or a teacher or similar.
The only thing I can think of is my mother. My mother is very into plants. And so we grew up her pointing out all kinds of plants and talking about them. And so I think in thinking about that greenhouse concept and like what kind of person would work there, it's someone who cares about something that everyone else on the surface is like, it's just plants, man. It's just plants. So that's as close as I can say a comp would be.
Yeah. On the set, did you take any ideas or influences from other movies? Because we're in a greenhouse, and of course we have to talk about the dog later. But did you find any influence from other movies or directors?
Yeah, and this will be controversial maybe, but David Fincher's take on Alien, I love the third Alien. I really do, and I know a lot of people hate it. But there's something about that one that is, you can feel Fincher in it somewhere. Yeah. And originally we had intended for this greenhouse to be a lab. Like it was a white, clean lab with hydroponic plants growing. And just from a purely budget standpoint, we realized that was impossible because while there is money behind the short, it wasn't a lot. It was not a lot. And so it kind of came down to just, all right, what locations are available to us? And we had previously worked in this facility before and thought, what a great fit. And it's amazing that it kind of has tied into the third Alien so much in the visuals of it. So that's definitely something we drew upon.
Yeah. Did you also bring, because we have Maggie, the dog, or Goose as the actor. Yes. I really love the name. Did you also take her from the third Alien installment? I mean, that dog dies, but still.
It was not, that was actually something totally separate. And originally it started out as a little pug, like a little tiny dog. And I'm glad that it is what it is. We just, as we scaled up the lab, we had to scale up the dog as well.
So why did you just choose to make the dog as a robot?
I think it's a great twist. I think if you're going to make a short film, you need some kind of twist. A plant and a payoff is how I see it. And there's only so much character growth that you can do in a short film. So that was really important. Like, what is the payoff here? What are we giving people? What is going to surprise people? And I think what's nice about this short is it does make you care about these characters, and then it still has a nice little twist to it. And also, it's nice that we don't actually kill the dog, because I'm an animal lover, and it's quite savage to kill any animal in a movie. So I think this is a good way of satisfying both. There are real stakes to it, but we're not killing a dog.
That's something we reacted to, that the dog actually plays with the face hugger. And still just throws it around, because if this would have been Alien 3, that was a face hugger, that was a chest burster, but they would have basically eaten it first without the fight.
Yeah.
So how did you make Goose play with the fictitious face hugger? I guess it was a toy or something.
There are 3 different iterations of the face hugger in our film. And I think one of your questions was, how did you handle with special effects? How was that dealt with?
Yeah, I was coming to that.
Okay. This will kind of tie it together, but to me, it's very important to have practical effects, or at least practical elements. And then we obviously have some CGI in ours as well, but we wanted as much as possible for it to be real. And so we did have the puppet, and we use that for a lot of like slithering through the bushes and stuff. Any quick moments that we could have where Maggie's fighting with, it's on a rod bouncing around. And then of course we have the CGI moment at the end, because we didn't have anything realistic enough to do it practically. And in hindsight, it's kind of a bummer, because we had 5 different filmmakers making short films, and one of the groups had made like a real articulating face hugger. And it's a bummer. If we'd known, then maybe we could have collaborated a little bit on that and passed the face hugger around.
Okay. Share your thoughts on the special effects and the creation of them.
It was tough because there just wasn't a ton of money to do it. CGI is something that's very expensive. And luckily, because this is a huge franchise, there were assets that did exist on the internet. So we were able to get our hands on those. And then thankfully, a dear friend was kind enough to rig the face hugger for us and do all of those CGI effects. But we really had to limit it, because he was doing us a favor, doing it for free. Just limit how often we do it. And I think there's just the 2 shots where it crawls over the pipe and where it, I guess it jumps at you too. Okay. There's more than I remember there being. But the big one was that final ending shot where it's like, we see it close up. We're going to see it very, very, very clearly. But very lucky to have had that.
Yeah, it is very detailed as well.
Yes, he did a great job. But for me, it's practical is always better, as much as you possibly can.
Here.
Yeah.
Looking back, what will you remember the most of this production?
I'll remember, I mean, there's so many good moments, but I'll remember the team of people who came out to make it possible. We had a very, very small crew. Everyone worked for free. Everyone just donated their time to it. And I'm very, very, very thankful. Some people came for a couple days, some people came the whole time. But when I think about it, I just remember us all down there in the greenhouse, moving plants around. There was no elevator, so everyone had to carry plants down these stairs. And we took so many trips up and down, up and down. So a lot of fond memories of being in that dark swamp of a place with all our friends making this, because everyone cared. Everyone wanted to make something great.
Yeah. How many cast members did it take to make the movie?
We had 2 cast, Julie and Deb, and then we had our dog, Goose Maggie, and her trainer. One fun thing about training the dog is I never took this into consideration, but we have this moment where she's barking and barking and barking, and then she stops. And I didn't tell the trainer this was happening in the dark, like it's by a flashlight. And so when we got to shooting it, the trainer was like, "Oh, we didn't practice for it being in the dark." So they took a little pause and went over to practice it. But I thought that was funny. It shows the attention of detail that you need to be able to tell everyone that this is exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And then as far as
how many people was behind the camera?
I want to say 10. I want to say about 10. cinematographer, AD, production designer. And like I said, some people kind of ebbed and flowed. We had more people on some days than others. And we did have a day of pre-lighting where we brought all the lights down and set them up so that it was faster for shooting.
Okay, if now we have a lot of aspiring filmmakers listening to our podcast. What would be your best advice for them?
Make things. Make things no matter what, even if it's with your phone, even if it's, roping all your friends into doing stuff. You will learn so much by just making things. And no one's going to give you money to make something if you haven't already made something. I can't believe how much has come from making the Alien short film, but I got that short film by making other things before that. So I would never expect someone to just come down and pluck you and say, you are now a director or a filmmaker. You have to keep making things. Don't expect it to be handed to you.
Okay. Do you have any upcoming projects?
Yeah, I'm actually very excited to talk about this. I just made my first feature film last year, I believe, and it's been making the festival rounds. It's called To Kill a Wolf, and it's a modern reimagining of Little Red Riding Hood. And it passes the Bechdel test, which was a goal of ours. So hopefully I'll send that over to you guys for a watch if you have time. But
Of course.
Working hard. And a lot of the same people who made Alien were a part of this. Our sound designer, our production designer, our cinematographer. So it's kind of Alien, the feature film, without aliens.
Okay, will it premiere on the movies or just on streaming? How will you distribute it?
This is a horrible question right now. We're in the process of finding distribution, and I think we're going to independently distribute it ourselves. We premiered in Edinburgh last year in August and have been making the festival rounds since, but we will have a theatrical release in the US in August or in October, and then it will be available for streaming.
Awesome. So in all our interviews, we give our guests the opportunity to highlight a movie that deserves more recognition than others. So I'm going to give you a chance to highlight a movie.
This is a really tough one. I saw this in your list of questions, and it was the only one that made me think twice, because it's also hard to know what, for you guys, is ubiquitous. For example, The Gift. Do you know that film?
Oh, The Gift. That was a long time ago. I have to remind myself.
Yes. It's been quite a while.
See. Yeah. All right. I haven't seen that in years.
Okay.
So what about it? Tell me.
It's a film that I really love when I think of suspense thrillers, horror movies that aren't quite horror movies. Like, I'm not sure how to categorize that film, but I love the social aspects of it. It just gives you the creeps without showing too much.
Okay. What makes it... let's say this. Why should our viewers... no, not viewers. Listeners see this movie?
I think if you're looking for something that, again, will give you the creeps without showing too much gore, it has one of the most horrifying endings. I find it very, very satisfying. It is such a slow burn. But I'm not sure how many people have seen that film. This may be the equivalent of me saying, like, have you guys ever watched the Chainsaw Massacre?
Well, never underestimate the movie nerds of Sweden. We have a lot of nerds here. They've seen all sort of movies, and I know that the Alien short movies will be a success for them. Where can we read more about you and find upcoming projects?
You can check me. I have a website, kelseytaylor.me, not .com, which is confusing. You can also check out tokillawolf.com, which is the feature film that will be coming out. Sign up for updates. We can tell you what festivals will be at, where it will be streaming online. You can also find me on Instagram. Kelsey Taylor has no Insta, but I do. You can also find the film To Kill a Wolf on Instagram as well. And yeah, please follow along because good things are happening. This was a feature film that was made, again, with about 10 people, a very small crew. And we're definitely challenging what an independent film is these days. As we see more and more festivals filled with these big budget films with stars, I think we have to work harder to make sure that indie films get a chance to be seen.
How do you do it in America when you have this small indie film? I know in America there are like 500 times the number of people than in Sweden. We have 10 million, so it's not that hard to promote the movie. But I mean, in America, and you also have Hollywood. How do you get your small movie? How do you get to spread out to people?
It's a hard question to answer, because right now the industry is in a poor state because there are so many films. There's so many films. There's so much clutter. There's so many platforms. So you're really competing for people's attention. And the advertising is the best way to do it, but you have to have a huge budget dedicated to advertising. For us, it was a miracle to even have the money to make the film, let alone have a budget to advertise. And I was reading something about Anora, which just won big time at the Oscars and is an indie film, but spent millions of dollars on a campaign to be at the Oscars. So it's very, very tough. And I'm not sure I have an answer right now of how to not get lost in the shuffle. The best thing you can do is make a good film and hope that it stands the test of time. And I think that we are building a slow rock rolling with momentum. And I hope it keeps rolling. And it's a shame, because we'd love to screen in foreign territories, but without a sales agent officially on board, it's very, very hard to break into those markets. So I would love to say that it'd be somewhere where you would be able to see it at some point, but I don't know how likely that is.
Let's make sure it comes to Sweden then.
Yeah.
We have a history of marketing movies, so why not?
I'll send it with you. Make it happen.
Yes. I'm really honored and glad to have you on this interview, Kelsey. So if you have something else you'd like to promote, this is your chance.
No, I'd say I would love to keep making films like Alien. I love working in the genre space. And I think To Kill a Wolf, my feature, is one step towards trying to create fantasy worlds and world building. And I'd love for the next one to continue to build upon that. So stay tuned.
Yeah, of course. They of course will. And I hope you'll get back to us when you release a small movie, because we decided last year that independent filmmakers, small filmmakers, they will market them no matter what the cost. I mean, we have last year we had 10 directors on from Swedish short films, and they just wanted to market their movies. I don't know if it helps, but at least they came out in the on a bigger platform, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, everything helps. I think word of mouth is the best advertising you can do for an indie film.
Yeah,
it's the best thing.
Yeah. Do you have a logotype for the To Kill a Wolf, or a poster or something? We can put it on our site and on our Facebook.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm also going to tell you, we did the review of Alien Specimen this Sunday, this Tuesday, and we gave it 5 out of 5, both me and my co-host.
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, we both like the Alien franchise, but I hate the third one. Sorry.
I knew it.
Yeah, that is actually the only one I have really hard to understand why they even made it, because Ripley is so worn down and she's not the hero anymore. I really miss that, because Alien is not Alien without Ripley.
Yeah. What did you think of the new one? I'm curious.
I haven't seen the new one yet.
Oh, okay.
So we're working through the franchise all over. Let's see when the newest one will air. It will be sometimes this summer. And this episode will come out on... I just need to take out the plan. This episode will be listenable at 29th. We are releasing the episode on Specimen, and day after the 30th I will release this interview.
Okay, great. And
Yeah.
are you speaking with the other alien filmmakers, the short film makers?
No, I've emailed D for containment and ore, but I haven't got any answers. If you have
that's
connection with them, so please, I'd like to speak to them too.
Yeah, I'll give them a nudge. I know both of them. I mean, we all became close afterwards. I think there was a bit
Of
of a
course.
competitive spirit early on, but I'll give them a nudge for sure.
Yeah, I'll see. I think I emailed. Let's see. To Harvest. That is Ben Houdshell, I think.
Don't know Ben as well, but the Spear sisters and
Oops.
oops, sorry.
It happens.
I don't know what I clicked.
No, nothing. It's my internet that's a bit up and down. Let's see, Kate. That's no, that was your manager, Ben, and I also sent it to Chris Reading. That's
Yep.
containment. Those are the three we only spoken to so far, but we are to talk about the other ones as well.
Okay.
But
I'll give.
if they're willing to go for an interview, I will be delighted.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
Really good.
this was fun. Rethink this.
Yeah, thinking